Gareth Southgate has stepped down as England manager, 8 years in charge. His final act was the Euros final, which England sadly lost, of course, to Spain, and he never did get to lift that trophy he so craved. I'm joined by Charlie Wyett, the Sun's football editor, who's going to tell us whether he was surprised or whether in the end this was expected, Charlie.
I don't think it was surprised. I think most of us would agree it was the right decision, wouldn't we? I think those that have, spent time with Gareth Southgate the last few weeks, those that have it over the last few months and years, and I think fans watching at home, it's the right decision. I think he's done ever so well. Of course, he'll be remembered for not quite getting the team there, but he's changed English football beyond recognition. I mean, Shaun, you covered for England for years, and you know what it used to be like. Compared to now, I think we're in a very different place, aren't we?
Do you feel he leaves, I don't know, annoyed maybe with some of the criticism he's got, that maybe he would have continued if there had been more of a movement in the country for him to stay on, that could have swayed him? I
think the criticism he received from all areas was a huge part of his decision. Look, let's go to 2022. England get knocked out and he's thinking about quitting. But because of the positive reaction from the public, the pundits, and of course the players, that was enough to just make sure that he remained. But I think the criticism he received from everywhere after, the Slovakia game, let's not forget he had beer chucked at him by fans, and he brought that up a few days later saying that's not normal. And I think, he's a really patriotic Englishman, and to be a figure of almost fun, a figure of hate in some areas will have hurt him so much that at that point, after the group stages, I don't think anything would have meant that he remained, even if he'd have taken England to victory the other night. That criticism will have really hurt him, and I think a lot of it was really unfair and harsh. But that were people's feelings, and a lot of people felt that he wasn't getting the best out of the team. That criticism really hurt him. Of course, getting to the final, I think few people, of course, I think everyone got behind the team again, quite rightly. But ultimately, I think he's decided that he's had enough. And I think after 8 years in charge of England, I think he deserves a bit of a lie down to recharge his batteries, and then he'll want to go again, and we'll see him back in club football.
He's a man who's grown up around the England camp for many years as a player and as a manager, so he would be used to, say, media criticism. But do you think it hurts more if it comes from, say, well-respected ex-professionals who probably were part of the Olympics, the England setup as well, and who maybe he thinks sort of dug the knife in a bit?
I think a bit, and I think I think if it happens once, but I think because it was coming every day, and I think it was actually coming before the start of the Euros, and it was coming when England were topping their group in the qualifiers. There were people still saying he never takes the handbrake off, whereas I thought in Qatar, England were one of the best footballing teams at the World Cup, to be honest. And they, you look at Gareth Southgate's goals record, his team, I think, he's the second highest scoring manager in England history in terms of goals per game. So I think he feels a bit harshly treated, but I think it's the real vitriol from the supporters. I really do. I really think so many fans, if you stop a fan in the street before the Euros, they'd have had another manager in charge. I think that was really unfair. But that's just the way it was, isn't it? That was the mood amongst, I think, a lot of football fans.
When you think about what he's done, and as you say, 2 successive Euros finals, semi-final of the World Cup, a quarter-final as well, it would be a shame and unfair, I feel, if his legacy turns out to be too cautious and couldn't get us over the line, almost a losing manager, which when you compare to some of the previous losing managers we've had, he's way above them. He's, as you say, he's changed the culture, etc. But there is a danger that ends up being his legacy, isn't it?
I think at the moment there is. I think history will look favourably at Gareth. But even I was talking to a few of our colleagues at the Sun when England played semi-finals, and they were still getting obviously battered criticism. But, despite getting to the last four, you're thinking that team of Beckham, Rooney, Owen, Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, Ashley Cole, John Terry, they never got to a semi-final. And this current team's getting absolutely battered. And of course they should have played better. Of course they should. We all know that. And there were concerns. And it's all very well saying, again, well, Southgate lucked out with the route to the final. Well, England didn't get to the 2008 Euros at all. And they had quite a good team then, didn't we? We lost to Iceland in the last 16. We finished bottom of in the World Cup in Brazil with, was it Costa Rica, Uruguay and Italy? So that argument doesn't stack up at all, in my opinion. But I think people will look back and think, oh, maybe he was a bit lucky with the draws and, he was too cautious. But look, I think we'll realise in a few years how good he has been for England. And even throwing it forward, Shaun, with the next World Cup, the World Cup qualifiers are in March, and England are not going to be top seeds in their group because of the Nations League. So potentially England could be in Spain's group. And it might not be that straightforward. We've just got used to sailing through all our qualifiers. And if the new manager is taking a bit of time and is experimenting, I'm not for one moment saying we're not going to qualify for the World Cup, but it might not be quite as simple as what we've been used to with Gareth Southgate.
As you bring up the new manager there's obviously a lot of runners and riders around. There is a feeling among some that we should be going English because we're the national football team, and if we can't find managers from our own coaching group, which has been being developed for many years and was one of the things Southgate wanted to institute in the first place when he joined the FA in 2011, then, that's a sad indictment of our system. So Eddie Howe, Graham Potter are obviously getting an early shout as Englishmen, but then there's some very good foreign managers who are available. Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel. What do you think the view is within the FA about where the direction they should take?
I think they're open-minded. I think ideally they're like an Englishman, and if that's not right, they'll go an overseas boss. And I think that's the right attitude. Ideally we'd like an Englishman. But Arsene Wenger always used to say, didn't he, that he thinks that he should be an Englishman with the English national team. But I don't think we've seen before that's not been the case. And if they feel that Thomas Tuchel, someone like him, who I think is a great manager. Mauricio Pochettino's a good coach. Jurgen Klopp, I think it'd be too soon for him. He made the last time he said he was going to have a holiday when he quit Dortmund and he took the Liverpool job in the October. I think this time he won a longer break. Of course, we all love Guardiola. That's not going to happen because he's not going to leave Manchester City and he earns so much money. Someone like Ancelotti would be great, but that's not going to happen either. So you've got to be realistic. And I think, it's Graham Potter, Eddie Howe. Lee Carsley should be considered. And I think if he's not being considered, he shouldn't be under-21's manager. Brendan Rodgers, again, I imagine he'd stay at Celtic, but I think he's a great manager and would be brilliant for England as well. So I think we do have some candidates, but I think, Graham Potter, I can understand why he's favourite, but say Lee Carsley should be considered as well. And will be considered.
I would give Gareth Southgate 8.5 out of 10 for his spell, for his time as England manager. Great longevity, 8 years, improved us pretty much. You might argue that in this Euros, maybe we took a little bit of a step back, but by and large, progress all the way. Yep. I think he impressed people more than they expected to be impressed. He showed he had a steely side. At times he did have a ruthless streak as well. Yes, okay, maybe he didn't always substitute the big players when you think he should have done. But by and large, he did a fantastic job. And I feel his legacy should be, thank you very much, Gareth, you did the nation proud. I take it you're of a similar view.
Yeah, agree with that, 8.5. Is he going to get knighted, do you think? When will that happen?
Well, that's another question. Should you be knighted for not winning it?
Well,
are you not of a view that your knights should be win? I don't know. People who win the things.
I think other manager. What is it? 12 footballers have been knighted. Look, I don't think he will be. Yeah, I think he will be eventually. But
an obsession about this knighthood thing. It never really buzzed me. You used to cover tennis quite extensively. Should Andy Murray have been knighted had he never won a Wimbledon, for instance?
I don't like anyone being knighted when they're still sort of involved in the profession, be it playing or, imagine sort of, Gareth Southgate gets knighted and he's sort of got his, press conference at wherever he is the next day, or, I think we should be waiting a while for that.